First meeting of Neurodiverse IT, the BCS Specialist Group for Neurodivergent IT Professionals. Tonight we're going to introduce the group, its aims, our committee, and the ways you can support the group. Then we're going to open up the session and explore your priorities and the activities that can help to bring that about. We are really clear that this group will work best run both for and by neurodivergent people. So all of your perspectives and experiences is absolutely vital to what we're doing. As I said, we're recording the initial part of this event and we'll end the recording before that wider discussion. If you have any questions during the presentation, please do ask in the chat, or alternatively raise your hand using the Zoom reactions feature, and then you can ask and speak. Though, as I say, we're going to have a lot of opportunity for wider discussion afterwards. So just if you have any questions about the current content. Otherwise, please do keep your mic muted until we get to that discussion point later. So I'm Matthew Belringer, I'm chair of the new group, and I'll share more about me and my work when we introduce the rest of the committee as well. Though for now, I'd like to introduce the group itself. So this group is for people who have a diagnosed neurodivergent condition, who identify as neurodivergent or with the experiences of neurodivergent people, or who have a personal or professional interest in neurodiversity. We founded this group on one of the principles of nothing about us without us, and we're really keen to make that a big part of the conversation that we're having, and to create a space where really it's possible to be comfortable in your neurodivergence and to use that as a skill and as a real benefit to your profession and to your work as an IT professional. So the BCS fundamental aims are making IT good for society, and we are very much in that space. Our goal is to help the IT industry access the unique talents that neurodivergent people possess, addressing the skills gap in IT, sharing inclusive practice, and raising awareness of IT as a career option for neurodivergent people. We also want to support neurodivergent people in their work. So raising awareness of the rights and the support available when you are working, offering peer support, mentoring and allyship, and sharing careers advice and sharing what's worked and the practices that have helped. And finally, we want to raise awareness of the broader contribution that neurodivergent people make to society via their work in IT. We want to support the BCS to become a leader in neurodiverse accessibility, raising awareness of BCS in neurodiverse communities and advocating within and through BCS for the work that we all do. So at the moment, we're in the very early stages of the group, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And our committee is essentially the three founding members who applied and set up the group when we first started. The first one of those is me. I'm Chair and Inclusion Officer. I'm Matthew Belringer. So I'm an innovation guide and neurodiversity advocate. I work with professionals, academics, and entrepreneurs who are highly able, unconventional thinkers to help them develop new approaches to hard problems. And I also work with organizations that want to be a better place for them. So I do this professionally as a consultant, facilitator, and speaker. I'm also setting up a social enterprise as a collaboration space for neurodivergent people who want to explore and develop their ideas. I've worked in IT for 20 years, for pretty much my entire career, and also have a background in psychology. I focus on the places where people and technology meet and overlap. So academically and kind of professionally, I'm particularly interested in social innovation, human-computer interaction, complexity, and a socio-technical space. Being chair of this group makes me incredibly proud to represent us. From my perspective, neurodivergent people are a group who've made considerable contributions and those contributions have often been overlooked, and who also have yet more to offer. if we can get rid of some of the barriers and things that make it difficult for us to contribute. I hope the group rapidly becomes a way of advocating both for our needs and our value to the profession and to the wider world, starts challenging stereotypes, and really develops new approaches to real world problems that are difficult for us as a community and for everyone else. So if in my role as chair and inclusion officer, please contact me about kind of overall direction, strategy things, possible speakers, collaborations, or any concerns that you have, either and including access issues to the group, to BCS, and to any other issues like problems that you have around this group. Just so you know, I also have ADHD and dyslexia. I'd like to move on to our next committee member, Richard, if I may.
Thank you, Matthew. I just want to mention the fourth founding committee member who unfortunately can't be with us. So somebody else joined the committee as part of our process to get the group started, and then unfortunately, as soon as we got to that stage, they had to leave us temporarily for a long-term sickness, and hopefully they'll be back with us in the not too distant future. So our thoughts go out to that person. So me, so I'm a cybersecurity professional. I've been working as an IT security manager for the last 10 years. Before that, I worked in an IT managed services environment as a technical architect. And that's been an interesting journey and a very important part of my life. I've recently taken on some other work. I work for the Chartered Institute for Information Security as the branch leader of the West Midlands for Chartered Institute of Information Security. I am also volunteer for an organization called NeuroCyber, helping them out, and that kind of was born out of my journey, which kind of had an important development, shall we call it that, a couple of years ago. So I grew up being conscious of being dyslexic, and that had some interesting side effects. So to this day, I still can't tell left from right, and you can imagine taking a driving test was challenging. I'm sure I'm not the only person that had R and L written on their hands.
I don't have to imagine that one, Richard. So yeah.
And trying to teach my daughters to drive had similar challenges, as you can imagine. And a couple of years ago, I had been reading about Asperger's syndrome and autism more widely, because it's something that I felt as though I kind of related to. And I read a book about somebody who had a late diagnosis. So I discussed this with my partner, and she agreed that probably did relate to me as well, and supported me through the process of getting formally diagnosed a couple of years ago. And that has kind of really changed my world considerably, and which is why I joined NeuroCyber, because I was looking for my tribe. And I think, talking to them and understanding some of those challenges and understanding the huge benefits that neurodivergent thinkers can bring, particularly to the cybersecurity industry, was the thing that kind of motivated me to go to BCS and say, well, why haven't we got a neurodiversity group? So I worked for BCS for a while. I do apprenticeship assessments, so I'd work quite closely with BCS, and at the same time Matthew asked the same question, and
yes.
and so here we are. So that's kind of me and why I'm here. So I've been formally diagnosed as autism spectrum disorder. If it was a few years ago, I would have been diagnosed as having Asperger's syndrome, but that's not an official diagnosis at the moment.
No. Um, if people want to get in touch, what should things people get in touch with you about in terms of your role within the group?
So my role within the group is so so I'm sure Matthew won't mind me saying that, he's already said that he's ADHD and I'm autistic, so we have complementary skills. So I'm the details person, and I'm the kind of doing a lot of the work in the background. So any issues around membership of the group and how we promote the group and what the group's about and what the group's for, and like the other members of the committee, I'm interested in making links with industry and different parts of the wider IT industry. As I've already said, I work in cybersecurity, so I'm quite interested in extending that out, because there isn't, apart from neurocyber, there isn't other obvious cyber neurodiversity groups. So that's something I'm interested in as well.
Super. Thank you very much, Richard. And Des, could I ask you to introduce yourself as well, please?
Sure. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Richard. I've got to say that it's been a pleasure to be involved with helping to set up this group. The initial request came from being a member of council and being on the general forum for members involved in volunteering. And there was a reach out to say, is anyone interested in helping out start up a group in neurodiversity? I've got an issue with my right and left, and the only reason I can figure out my right is I put my thumb in an electric socket and burnt it. So I've got a little bump on my right thumb. So I'm always remembering, check for that before I respond. But one of the challenges, I've got 4 girls, and one of them is a little bit ahead of the game in terms of just the way she thinks. And it was just brought me to thinking that there's a little bit more than just the fact that she's sort of outward thinking about things. There's potentially some concerns that need some support. She went for an exam one-on-one with someone, and they were asking, so if there's any questions, please let me know. So she came across the first question, and she asked the person, so what's the answer to this question? And they said, no, that's not the kind of question you want to ask. But theoretically, that's really what you want to ask. But just in terms of me, I'm the CFO and operations director of Emerge Canada. We're an investment firm in Canada. We invest in technology and other forms of investments. I've spent 10 years building technology from a PC-based environment, and then 10 years managing technology resources, and then 10 years trying to get rid of technology that people put in from a PC perspective in terms of a risk management function. So it's sort of, I've ended up going full cycle in my career. But I really appreciate the interest everyone has shown, and it's great that we've got so many members attending our first event, and we look forward to hearing a lot more from everyone else.
Fantastic. Thanks, Des. And for what should people get in touch with you about?
So I'm looking after the role of Treasury as well as early career advocate. So again, if you're looking to start off your career in technology, we're looking to help support that. And that's really the role of the early career advocate. And part of what we're also looking for today is for other people to step up and take up some of these roles. So happy to share that with individuals in terms of where people are thinking of going, and giving some exposure to what I've gone through and others have gone through, connecting people together. So not that I'm the expert, but hopefully we can get other members to connect with each other.
Super. Thank you, Des. Okay, so Yeah, as Richard mentioned, there was a great minds think alike moment when the group was set up in the middle of last year. I think it was we both kind of simultaneously got in touch and said, why doesn't BCS have a neurodiversity group? So kind of put everything together. And as of, I think, early this year, we were formally made a group and set up. So we're still very early stages. This is the very first event, and it takes a while to set things up and get everything working. So I think it's really important to note, though, that BCS are making diversity and inclusion a really big priority as a theme. They're very keen to support this, both in terms of us as a specialist group and as a wider thing. So whilst it has historically sometimes been difficult to get heard in organizations like BCS, I think I'm quite relatively optimistic that we actually do have the attention and the support of BCS with this particular work. The group, as of the last time we looked, I looked, which was at the beginning of today, is 40 people so far, which isn't bad considering we haven't been going very long and we haven't done a lot of work to promote it. And in the UK and beyond, so really interestingly distributed all over. We have currently available the mailing list, the website, and you can see the events also on that web page, on the BCS web page, which lists both our events and all neurodiversity related events that BCS is running. It's an interesting thing. It was offered to us, and we're very keen to really be the place where people can find anything about neurodiversity. I'm very, very pleased that other branches are running events. So so that's all of the resources available. The most important thing is to be on the mailing list, to join the group if you want to hear about future stuff. So in terms of development, you may be aware that the BCS is developing a new community platform based on some online forums, and is currently publicly available. We are on the list of kind of early adopters to get our own private space for discussion, and hopefully to become a repository of useful information. Because I think for me, this is one of the really major things, is whilst there is a little bit of information available on the internet about how to work well as an adult who is neurodivergent, a lot of it is very low level and quite remedial. And I'm particularly keen to, I think the challenges as an IT professional are just different. So I'm very hopeful that we can start to build a lot of information there. We are moving towards hosting monthly events. We expect these to be mostly online, though we're planning 2 in-person events in the next year. Next year. And one of them as a celebration of neurodiversity in the IT profession. We're also very keen to influence and develop policy and support the BCS in really showing some leadership in this domain and really becoming excellent at being both accessible and being a great place for neurodivergent people. Richard and Des, is there anything I've missed in that high-level summary?
So you mentioned a celebration event in the summer of next year, I think is what we've settled on. I think the thrust of that is to have an opportunity for us to get together and to really celebrate the achievements of the neurodivergent community within the IT industry, and have a bit of an opportunity to celebrate that with a few awards. So that's kind of really an exciting thing that we're hoping we'll get some industry support for that event. But it won't be the only face-to-face event that we run, and maybe you want to, I don't know if you're going to talk a bit more about the style and the kind of events we're going to have in between now and then.
Absolutely, yes. Once I open things up a bit more, I think I'm going to frame what we're thinking to start a wider conversation.
Just related to that, Matthew, is also the interest in continuing the introduction just over the next little bit. So giving that the opportunity for more people to be engaged with our group and be aware of what's going on.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you. Thank you both very much. So if you're interested in what we're doing, there are a number of different ways you can help and support us. The first one is volunteering, serving on the committee. From my perspective, I want a large representative committee. I'm very aware that everyone's experience is different, and I want all of those experiences to be heard. It's really important to me that and for me, the best way to do that is for us to have a lot of people contributing. So we have kind of designed a variety of roles that potentially can be filled. So if you're at all interested, then do let me know. However, we're also very happy to explore kind of whatever contribution you would like to make serving in the committee, if you have a particular specific contribution you would rather make. The next way you can support us is by sharing your experience within the group. So that means speaking, potentially. If you have topics you would like to speak on, then please let us know. Potentially speaking in discussion panels and sharing your experience that way. Also contributing via the online forum and to the conversation there. And there is also the BCS blog and IT Now. The BCS is interested in sharing the experiences and the expertise that exist within this group. So if you are interested perhaps in that, then do let us know. And I'm also very aware that not everyone will have necessarily had the chance to practice a lot of these skills, and speaking in public can be daunting for everyone, and for neurodivergent people it can be doubly so. So I'm very keen that we kind of provide a safe and supportive space to do that. I don't want it to be a barrier to getting that experience and getting your knowledge and wisdom out there. Finally, the other way you can help is by spreading the word, telling others about the group, both individuals and organizations, and also telling us about organizations that are doing similar things. We're really looking to collaborate with BCS branches, with other specialist groups, and any other interested organizations. And obviously there is a lot of overlap here. From my perspective, we have potential connections with almost everything. So it's really where is interesting, who is interested in what we're doing, and who can we help and work together with. So if there is anyone in that direction, please do let us know, let them know about us, and let your colleagues know if you think it would be helpful for them to participate.